Hey, it's Hump Day, Wednesday. Welcome to the Sports Wagering Zone. It is now 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 noon. Of course, depending on what time zone you're in, I hope you're listening and hope you enjoy the show today as well. So I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming to you over the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as most of the major podcast platforms such as iHeartRadio. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, and we're there as well. So welcome to the show. Again, this is our new time slot. We're going to be staying at this 12 o'clock noon time slot for a while, probably for a long while, hopefully anyway. The only reason we made the change was because we noticed that there were afternoon games in baseball that were being scheduled and played, and we didn't have a chance to talk about them, even though they were a good possible selection by the professionals, which is the system that we employ here at the Sports Wagering Zone. And of course, as you know, today is already Wednesday. It's the third day that we've been doing it. And of course, there hasn't been one afternoon scheduled game so far this week. But hey, that's how it goes. Anyway, it is Wednesday. We're one day away from draft day in the NFL. How big it has become. I was talking to some people yesterday and we talking about it. And I remember my very first recognition of the NFL draft goes way back. And at that point in time, the only information that we had was during the newscast that would come up on the hour and the half hour. They would break for a sports break for like a minute or two, and they would kind of tell you who your team happened to select at that point in time, or the selections that have been made. That's how it kind of started out. And of course, now today, it's just totally unbelievable. It's becoming one of the biggest events of the sports season. So that's on tomorrow, expecting huge ratings, huge turnout. Of course, because of COVID, it kind of, even in spite of COVID, it still has been a big event. So we're going to talk about a couple of possible draft selections as far as betting on prop bets, a couple of players and a couple of teams also. So we're going to talk about that. But of course, we're also going to talk about what happened yesterday in the world of sports. And of course, we're also going to talk about 3 baseball games that are on tap for tonight. We're going to take a look and see where the line movement is going in those 3 games, along with in which direction the pros happen to be betting in those games. It's a little system that we've been kind of using since the beginning of the season. We'll go over the stats on that. We've been kind of derelict the past couple of days, just so much to talk about as far as the draft and everything else. We kind of stayed away from, or didn't have enough time, or we forgot about doing our usual daily update as to how well or how bad the particular system happens to be doing. So we will go over that as well, in addition to letting you know the 3 games that are on tap for tonight that we're going to take a closer look at. And that's going to be Washington against the Blue Jays, Phillies against the Cardinals, and the Angels against the Rangers. So if you're contemplating betting on any of those 3 games, be a good idea to kind of stick around, listen to what the pros are doing with it, and then of course we leave it up to you to make your decision as to which direction you want to go with them as well. And of course, there's also a golf tournament coming up this week, the Valspar tournament. We'll go with just a quick brief overview of that particular situation, because right now the draft and NFL is really the big thing that's going on, in addition to the baseball games happening in the evening. So as usual, if you're new to the show, The first thing we do when we start out, we look at what happened yesterday in the world of sports, especially as it pertains to betting. That's our number one factor. Again, we always say we don't care who won straight up. We want to know whether or not they covered. That's the most important aspect. So, taking a look at sports yesterday, especially in the National Hockey League, as usual, all season long, the favorites have been very dominant in the National Hockey League. Nothing different yesterday. They went 6-2 with only upsets by the Capitals, who were a minus 105 against the Islanders, and the Devils at a plus 115 on the money line against the Flyers. Favorites, however, 6-2 over yesterday. Meanwhile, the overs and unders, they kind of split yesterday, 4-4. So the unders still lead for the season. They're at 51%. And the first period unders went 5-3 yesterday. After the first period overs went 8-0 the day before. On Monday, they were 8-0 as far as the unders were concerned. And yesterday, they went 5-3. So now they lead 379 to 369, which is almost at 51%. In the NBA, the favorites did very well as well, 4-2 straight up and 4-2 against the spread. The only upsets were by the Thunder, 11-point dogs, 525 on the money line. So if you would have wagered $100, you would have got back $525 in that situation. The Thunder and the Celtics. Meanwhile, the Mavericks were a 4-point dog against the Warriors. And of course, the favorites increased their lead, which is kind of slim, not very big. It's at 50.4% so far this season. The over-under split yesterday. They went 3-3, and the overs still lead, however, and they're at 50.2% for the season so far. Keep in mind, we talk about these numbers. They're for your information. Keep in mind that 52.3, 52.4% is where you want to be at if you want to be breaking even or possibly making a couple of dollars. Meanwhile, over in Major League Baseball, the underdogs, big dogs yesterday, barked 8-6 with the Phillies and Cardinals. That game closed as a pick'em. Now, the upsets were by the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, the Reds, the Indians, the Rangers, the Tigers, the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox. All these teams all won as underdogs. The favorites still lead, however, 171 to 157 straight up. You had 15 picks in there as well. The unders went 10-5 yesterday, and the unders are at 55.8%. 55.8%. That's the story as far as baseball is concerned. Unders doing very, very well so far this season. So that's the story on the three major sports that are in action right now. So we're going to take our first break. And of course, if you've listened to the show before, or if you haven't, you understand that we do take 3 breaks within the show. Each one is of about a 1 minute, maybe 1 minute and a half duration at best. And then we kind of come right back. Gives us a chance to kind of settle down for a minute or two, catch up on our thoughts, take a little sip of water, get ready for the next round in round 2. And when we do come back, the first thing we'll do is take a look at the 3 games that are on tap for tonight. Once again, those 3 games are going to be Washington against the Jays, the Phillies against the Cardinals, and the Angels against the Rangers. We're going to take a look at the line movement in those games, as well as taking a look at which direction the pros are going. So we're going to give you that information. It'll be there for you. You use it as you see fit. So let's take that first break. And just a reminder, you'll be back into the Sports Wagering Zone right after this message. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network over here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also podcasting on most of your major podcasts, such as Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you name it, we are there. Thank you again. Thank you very much. We totally appreciate you listening to the show. So let's get on with the business at hand. We've got 3 games on tap for tonight that we're going to take a close look at. We're going to track the line movement on these 3 games. And of course, we're also going to see which direction the pros are going. But one of the early storylines of this season so far in baseball is the winning performance of the unders. We talked about them, how well they did yesterday and the day before. The unders went 10-5 on Wednesday to improve to 53.7% on the season, a $100 better. Playing every baseball under, you'd be up roughly around $1,200 up until this point. Now, when the total is 8.5 or higher, the under is at 58.9%. Now, divisional unders, they've gone at 55%. The best spot overall continues to be the inflated unders. If you see the total going up at least a half a run, they're going, say, from 8.5 to 9 or 9 to 9.5, whichever way, buying low and taking the under has been at 69%. Again, keep in mind, 52.3 is your break even. So if you just were betting unders, just arbitrarily, whatever it is, regardless of who was playing, what time of day, where they were playing, what the weather conditions, whatever else, doesn't matter. Just flat, I'm going to play the unders. If you would have been betting $100, of course, if you bet 50, you got to cut that in half. And if you're only betting $10 or whatever it is, it kind of projects downward. But just to give you an idea, if you bet $100, you'd be up $1,200 at this point in time right now. The unders may not be a popular bet. We all know it's much more fun to root for the hits, the home runs, the sweat. We want a lot of action. That's generally the philosophy of the average recreational bettor. Action, action, action. More runs, more scores. They don't want to see a pitcher's duel, okay? So, again, the unders may not be popular in that respect, but they are doing very, very well so far this season. But now it's Wednesday, and we have a whole bunch of things on tap for tonight as far as betting is concerned. You got Major League Baseball, you got the NBA, you have some National Hockey League games as well. But we're talking baseball, and let's talk and see what games have gotten some early action, line movement, and see which direction the pros are going. To start with, at 7:07 Eastern Time, you have the Washington Nationals, who are 8-12, playing against the Toronto Blue Jays, who are at 500 at an 11-11 record. The Jays came up big for the pros last night. They beat Scherzer and the Nats 9-5. In that game, they were plus 105 dogs on the money line. Okay, that was the first game of this series. Now, tonight, Washington will pitch Eric Fetty. He's 1-2 with a 5.51 ERA. The Jays are going to come back with their lefty, Steven Matz. He's undefeated so far this season. He's 4-0 with a 2.31 ERA. Now, as we look at the line, it opened with the Toronto Blue Jays, a minus 155 home favorite. The Nationals are a plus 140 road dog. Now, the pros have now looked at, and they're going to lay the chalk with the Blue Jays. And when they did that, it pushed the Toronto number up from minus 155 up to 165. And coming on before the show started, we looked at some of the shops. Some of them are even coming in at 170 as well. Now, looking at this season so far, if a team gets 10 cents or more of steam in their favor, And in a non-division game such as this, they've gone 57% so far this season. We've also seen favorites with the line move in their favor when you have your interleague play. American National going at 61%. The Jays are plus 15 in run differential so far this season. The Nats are minus 28, which is the worst in the National League. And it's the second worst in all of Major League Baseball. The only team they're behind are the Tigers. So the Nationals, they struggled against lefties this season. They just went 1-4 against left-handers. So in this particular game, the indications, the line movement, the pros are looking at the Toronto Blue Jays. But keep one thing in mind. Once again, you're going to be laying some heavy juice. 170, maybe a little less, perhaps a little more, but that's totally up to you to decide which direction to go. Again, depending on which part of the country you're in. Keep in mind that Toronto doesn't play in Toronto. Toronto plays in Florida. All right, just to give you an idea, that's because of the COVID situation, and you have a 2-week wait before you can have any, getting together in Canada. If you come from the United or from anywhere, okay, not only the United States but anywhere, you can't have a team go up there for 14 days and sit around and do nothing before they can play. So they decided to go into a city in the United States, and Toronto has chosen Florida as their base of operations so far. So again, Toronto Blue Jays, the choice for the pros, the choice of the line movement as well. We have 2 more games to take a look at. You got the Phillies against the Cardinals and the Angels against the Texas Rangers. We're going to take a break. That's our second break. And when we do come back, we're going to take a look at those 2 games, kind of get an idea once again as to which direction the line movement is taking us. And of course, once you determine that, you kind of figure out in which direction the pros are going as well. So we'll be back into the sports wagering zone right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network on Blackjack Television, also at Mile High Radio out in Colorado as well. And of course, we do podcasts. We're on most of the major podcast platforms, such as iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, you name it, we're there. So once again, thank you very much for listening. We're talking about baseball, talking about 3 games on tap for tonight. We've been charting the line movement in those games, trying to figure out which direction they're going, because once you do that, you get a pretty good idea as to which direction the pros are going as well. Now, whether or not you want to bet with them, that's totally up to you. We're just telling you about it, You decide what you want to do. Perhaps, you're looking at this game between the Nationals and the Blue Jays, and you're saying, yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm kind of I have a toss up here. I'm kind of leaning to the Jays, but, that Washington, whatever it is, you're going back and forth on your mind. Listen to the show. You hear that the pros are going with Toronto. It may help you to make a decision either for or against. Again, once again, it's totally up to you. Now, 2 more games we have on tap. 7:45 tonight. The Philadelphia Phillies, 11-12, taking on the Cardinals. Kind of reverse that. They're 12-11. 11-12, 12-11. These are non-divisional National League teams. They split the first 2 games in this 4-game series. The Phillies won the opener 2-1. They were a -105 pick-em play in that particular situation. And then the Cardinals came back with a 5-2 win last night. And in that game, they were a -101 home dog. So very close, very tight as far as how the money has been going. So we take a look at tonight's rematch. You got the Phillies. They're coming in with Vince Velasquez. He has no record so far. He's 0-0. But he has 6.75 ERA. 6.75. And the Cardinals, they're going with their Cuban righty, Johan Oviedo, who also has no record. This will be his first start. He has no ERA as well. He's going to be making, like I said, the first start of the season. It's the 6th start of his career, and he has a career ERA of 4.6, by the way. Maybe that'll help you as well, because he hasn't pitched so far this year. But over the few 6 games that he's had, his career ERA is 4.6. Now, looking at the line of this game, St. Louis was a slight -115 home favorite, of course. The public is coming in big and strong on the Cardinals at home against a Philadelphia pitcher with a very high ERA. We're talking at 6.75. Okay, that's pretty good. However, despite all this lopsided support, we've seen the Cardinals drop down from being a -115 to a -107 on the money line. This signals that the pros are in what we call a reverse line movement on the Phillies, taking the Phillies from being an underdog at +105 and flipping them to being the favorite, or the underdog actually, at -102. So essentially, the game is really a pick-em right now, because St. Louis is still the favorite, but it's still a pick-em. The Phillies have value in this game because they're a dog with the line movement in their favor. We've also seen that a road dog they've been doing it real well this year, and they're winning at a 47% clip, but they're producing a 12% return on investment with roughly 26 unit wins so far. The Phillies are 9th in batting this season. They're at .243. The Cardinals are 22nd, a team batting average of .220. So in this particular game, the pros are on the Phillies. It is a toss-up game. So again, you take a look at this game, and if you were thinking of betting this game, you've done some homework on it, you're thinking of playing it, and no matter how you come up with it, you're saying, I don't know, 1 minute you like the Phillies, the next minute you like the Cardinals. Well, just for your own information, the pros do like the Phillies in this particular game, but how you use it is totally up to you. But just to give you an idea, it might be the one piece of information that helps you make a decision one way or another. Meanwhile, at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, the Los Angeles Angels, they're at 500, 11 wins, 11 losses, playing the Texas Rangers in Texas, 10-14. Now, these are American League West rivals. They split the first 2 games. The Angels won the opener 9-4. They were -160 favorites on the money line. And then the Rangers won 6-1 yesterday as a +140 home dog. So in tonight's rubber match, the Angels are coming in with their veteran right-hander, Alex Cobb. He's 1-1 so far this season, 6.28 ERA for him. And the Rangers, they come in with their right-hander, Dane Dunning. He's 1-0 so far this year with a 3.06 ERA. Now, as we look at the line in this game, It opened with the Angels, a minus 120 road favorite, okay? And the Rangers are a plus 110 home dog. That's how they open. Now, the pro money seems to think that this line it might be a little low, and they started to steam the Angels. They drove that line up from being a minus 120 up to 130. The Angels are 10-8 against right-handers this season, while the Rangers, they're 3-10 against righties. Los Angeles is going to lean on their big offense in this one. The Angels are hitting 267. That's the second best average in the major leagues. The Rangers are hitting at 227, which puts them at somewhere around number 18. We could be looking at a lower scoring game in this one. The total is 9.5, but there's a lot of heavy juice on the under for this game at minus 115 on the money line. Remember this, when the total is 8.5 or higher, 8.5 or higher, as it is here, because we're looking at 9.5, the under is at 59% this season. 59%. Divisional unders, they're at 55%. So kind of take that into consideration as well when you're making your decision. So in this particular game, pros are on the Los Angeles Angels. So those are the three games on tap for today. First of all, we looked at the Nationals and the Blue Jays. Pros are on the Blue Jays. Phillies against the St. Louis Cardinals. The pros in this game are on the Phillies. And finally, Los Angeles Angels against the Texas Rangers. The pros are on the Angels in this particular scenario. So that's a rundown of the three games for tonight. And before I forget, like I've done the past couple of days, I want to bring to your attention how this particular little picking system has been working. Keeping in mind that all we're doing is playing whatever team is picked by the pros and in the line movement, okay? That's all it is. There's nothing else being taken into consideration in this situation. So far this season, we have had 71 plays. That's after yesterday. Yesterday, we had 3 plays. We had 2 winners. We lost with the Royals against the Pittsburgh Pirates, but we won with the Nationals against Toronto and with the Red Sox against the Mets. So, again, going into today, we have 71 plays totally, 40 winners, 32 losers for a 56.3% average, which is well beyond 52.3, 52.4. You would definitely be in the profit margin if you were going along with it. Now, not saying that you should, that you shouldn't. You should take some of this information and, hey, you may be happy with whatever system you're using. If you are, that's fine. That's great. No problems. But maybe you might want to tweak it a little bit here or there. Sometimes you may come across a situation where the game is very close. You're not sure which team you want, okay? So kind of use this information and, implement it into whatever system you're using, and perhaps it'll help you become a better handicapper. Now, you can either bet with them or you can bet against them. People use this gambler's fallacy. Well, they just had 3 in a row. They got to have 1 loss, right? Or they just lost 3 or 4 in a row. That means they got to have a winner now. Well, that isn't the case. It just doesn't work that way. That's why it's a fallacy. Anyway, that's the story on baseball. That's the whole thing as far as we're concerned, trying to keep you up to date on the stats, because we're strictly analytically minded here at the Sports Wagering Zone. If you're new to the show, understand we're trying to take the emotion out of betting, trying to keep it as analytical as possible. And of course, it works sometimes it doesn't, but over the long haul, you just can't take a snapshot of 1 week or 1 day or 1 month or even 1 year. You have to watch it over a period of time. Then you see what trend, which way it's going. Then you decide whether or not you want to be part of it, or you want to be with it, or you want to be against it. Again, don't take one little snapshot and say, wow, oh, they're fantastic. I'm going to bet them all the time. Or, They're terrible. I'm not going to bet them at all. Okay. Over the long haul, the pro bettors are near 60% as far as betting is concerned. That's their average. That's what they kind of talk about. More than likely, it might even be a little higher. But always understand something. Even though you're 60% on the 60% on the plus side, that means 40% of the time you're going to be wrong. So they're going to be wrong many times as well. So that's the story. Hopefully, over the longer period of time, that situation is on the plus side. So that's the story as far as baseball is concerned. We're going to take our final break. We come back, we're going to take a look at a couple of the prop bets lined up for the draft for tomorrow. Take a quick look at that, and maybe if we do have time, take a quick look at the big golf tournament coming up, the Valspar down up there in tomorrow. So let's take that final break. And just a reminder, you'll be back in the sports wagering zone right after this. And welcome back. Welcome back to the sports wagering zone of Chris Pardo, coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major platforms as well, such as Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, you name it, we're there. Okay. So we're talking about the draft. It's going to be tomorrow night, 8:00 Eastern time. Boy, there's going to be some huge ratings. This is without a doubt. And I've been following this for many, many years. This is probably going to be one of the most exciting drafts of all time so far, because right now, the only things that are certain are, number one, Jacksonville will take Trey Lance, okay, and the Jets are going to take Wilson. No problem. That's for sure. That's the way it looks anyway, okay? And we know that the Jacksonville thing is really legit. They sent them a nice gift when he got married a couple of weeks ago. He's now involved in some of the charities in the Jacksonville area. So those kind of indicators say, yeah, he's there. He's been adopted by them. He's ready to go. That's where he will be going. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson, he's the number 2 choice. More than likely, he will wind up with the Jets, unless they pull something different, okay? Right now, all indications are Zach Wilson going to the Jets. From that point on, from number 3 on up, it's Katie bar the door. Right now, San Francisco, you're hearing Trey Lance. You're hearing about Jones, Mac Jones from Alabama, and then there's some other people that might be thrown in there. Those are the 2 main pit characters that they're talking about right now, and that can change in a moment's notice as well. So from number 3 on up, and it's each move in the first 5 or 6 moves is going to have like a domino effect throughout the rest of the draft, because depending on when the quarterbacks go, take a look at a team like the Giants, let's say. They're in the number 11 selection. Well, if 5 quarterbacks go, that means there are going to be 3 or 4 other players that would probably not be available to them at 11, but they will be, because they don't need a quarterback, so they don't care. Okay, what that's going to do is going to leave behind some either defensive players or offensive players that they would love to have had, and they probably wouldn't have if it wasn't for the fact that the first few picks are all going to be quarterbacks. So that leaves these guys wide open and leaves teams like that, like the Cowboys, the Giants, any teams up around 12, 13, 14. It gets them into a better position as to what they really want. They can probably really get. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. So we're closing in on one of the best nights of the year, without a doubt, okay? We're going to sit around for hours tomorrow, listen to a guy read the names of other guys on a sheet of paper, and as mundane and as kind of the way that feels, this event, and even though it sounds that way, if you look at it that way, but the NFL draft night is really, I think, one of my favorite nights of the year, because in a typical year, the draft kind of intersects with the NBA and the NHL playoffs and accompanies a full baseball card as well. So with the sports calendar kind of moved around a little bit, and the winter sports would kind of push back for their playoffs. The playoffs are still a few weeks away for the NBA and the NHL, but the draft remains an exciting event to watch. It's a profitable one to bet sometimes. So let's take a look at a couple of the prop bets and kind of give you our thoughts on them as well. First of all, in the over-under situation, Patrick Surtain the second, we kind of feel he's at 10.5. Under 10.5 is how that we kind of see in this one, because it looks like the Cowboys are the team that's going to take him. So, you kind of look at it this way. How is it possible that one of the best former Dolphin quarterbacks of all time and his son is already coming into the NFL? Okay. Nothing makes me feel my age more than seeing kids of former athletes old enough to play right now in the pros. Anyway, the Cowboys picking at number 10. It seems unlikely that Surtain is going to make it past that point. And people I really trust say Patrick Surtain is a lock to be taken by the Cowboys if he's still available at 10. Okay. More than likely he will be, but if he's not, it's Katie bar the doors to who they take at that point in time, okay? Now, before the Cowboys lost quarterback Dak Prescott for the season last year, they were thinking about a different type of play, hoping to outscore their opponents and holding a little chance of keeping teams out of the end zone. So they may lean towards the defense now, and that kind of looks that way. So we're looking at Patrick Surtain. Okay, Patrick Surtain the second, actually. Okay, and his over-under number is 10.5. We kind of see it being the under 10.5. We think he'll be drafted in the number 10 slot. Now, Trey Lance, this is an interesting situation. His odds are 5-1 right now. And if you can get 5-1, this is one way to take a look at it. This draft market requires some shopping to find the best price. So I hope you're dealing with more than one sports book. But if you can get 5-1 or better, 6, 7, higher, in other words, okay, jump on the fact that Trey Lance will be over the number 3 spot, over on number 3, okay? Because where we look at it is this way. Between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, and there's a lot of speculation as to who it's going to be, because the market's really been bouncing around. Jones was a huge underdog, then a huge favorite after Frisco traded up, and kind of word leaked out that the trade was with Jones as the forethought. That's why they did the trade, because they wanted to get Jones. And it has now shifted back even to Fields being heavily favored in some places as well. So if it's not Fields, and with all this uncertainty, Lance is certainly worth a look, especially at 5-1 or better. So looking at Trey Lance, 5-1 or better, Patrick Surtain the second being at 10.5, but less. Okay, we'll have more about those things tomorrow, because once again we're going to be trying to give you more information. It's the same day of the draft. We'll see what we can come up with. And of course, the first day is only one day. There was a time when you had the first and second rounds both went on the first day. Now it's such a big production that the Thursday night, the first night, only chooses the number one selection. That's it. The first round is going to be on Thursday. Then you got Friday, you got Saturday and Sunday. So you're going to have a whole weekend of all types of things to watch as far as NFL action is concerned. So that's the story there. I want to thank you very much for listening. And once again, we just want to take a couple of minutes and go over the teams that are on tap for tonight, the games that are going to be played, the 3 games that are in our little system, if you want to call it that, our selection method for selecting teams and games. The 3 games on tap for tonight: Washington against the Blue Jays. The pros are on the Blue Jays. The Phillies and the Cardinals. The pros are on the Phillies. And in the Angels-Rangers late game, the pros are on the Angels as well in that game. So that's the story for today. It's hump day. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. We're one day away from the NFL draft. So keep doing your homework. Get ready. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. We might be able to fill in some gaps for you, give you some of our thoughts on it, some thoughts that are out there that we can find and kind of help you get along with that. But in the meantime, if you're going to be betting tonight, we wish you the best of luck. We really want you to win. I don't care what system, whether you poo-poo the way we pick them or whatever it is. We hope you do very, very well. And of course, it is Wednesday. We certainly hope you're having a great day as well. So thank you very much for listening. Once again, we'll be back tomorrow, Friday or Thursday, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as some of the podcasts as well. So until tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time, I'm Chris Pardo. Thanks for listening. We'll be back at 12 noon on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Thank you for listening and have a great day. But more than that, have a profitable day as well. Goodbye, everybody.